Good morning, beautiful souls. Today I want to talk to you about something that you may have felt since you were a child, something subtle yet powerful. Something that seems to guide you, whisper to you, sometimes even pull you gently when you're unsure that something is magic, not the kind with wands and tricks, but the quiet, divine magic of daily inner guidance, the voice within you that is always speaking if only we learn to listen. You see, every day, every moment, we are being offered guidance, not from outside, but from the infinite within. It is not loud. It doesn't scream or demand. It nudges, whispers, and sometimes just glows gently as a feeling of peace or joy. That guidance, it was your true compass. Most people live by the logic of the world. Wake up, do what you're told, chase goals that others have handed down. But the magic I speak of doesn't ask you to chase. It asks you to tune in. It doesn't lead you in fear. It leads you with grace. When you start each day by turning inward through stillness, reflection, or simply breathing in the present moment, you open the door to this quiet magic. You begin to hear what your soul already knows. Have you ever noticed how life flows when you're aligned? When things just click, that's not coincidence. That's guidance. That's your inner divine speaking, saying, yes, you are on the path. This guidance isn't reserved for monks or mystics. It is in all of us. It lives in the artist, the mother, the builder, the child. It doesn't require a title or a ritual. It only requires awareness. And when you become aware, even the mundane becomes magical. Imagine waking up tomorrow, not rushed, not stressed, but quietly centered. You take a moment to place your hand on your heart and ask, what would you have me know today? And you listen. Not with your ears, but with your heart. You may not get words, but you may get a feeling, an idea, a peace. That's the magic. That's the compass. Let me be clear, and the world will still swirl around you. The emails will come, the dramas. But when you're living from guidance, you move through life instead of being tossed by it. You respond rather than react. You lead rather than follow. You love rather than judge. Many people pray for answers and wait for the heavens to part. But often the answer is already inside. The guidance shows up in silence, in nature, in the space between thoughts. That's where the divine magic lies, in the gap. You don't need to control everything. You don't need to know the outcome. All you need to do is trust that the guidance you receive is enough for the next step. Not the entire path, just the next step. Life is not a puzzle you solve. It is a dance you learn to feel. This magic within you speaks in kindness, in patience. It inspires creation. It encourages forgiveness. It teaches surrender. And above all, it invites you to love, not as a concept, but as a way of being. If you want more guidance, become more present. Turn down the noise. Turn up the stillness. Let go of the belief that you're alone or broken or behind. You're not. You are exactly where you need to be, not because everything is perfect, but because everything is perfectly placed for your learning. So, what if you lived your life as if the guidance you seek is already with you? What if you treated your intuition like a wise friend? What if you trusted yourself even when others doubt? You'd walk with clarity. You'd speak with purpose. You'd forgive easily. You'd laugh often. You'd create without fear. That's what happens when you're guided from within. In the quiet hours of the morning or the noise of a busy street, this magic still flows, whether you notice it or not. It never leaves. It only waits for you to remember. So today, I invite you to slow down. Tune in, ask for guidance, not from books, not from strangers, but from your soul. Ask it how to serve. Ask it where to go. Ask it who to be. And trust the answer even if it's just a whisper. In that whisper is your miracle. Thank you. There's a sacred intelligence within you that has been present since the moment you took your first breath. It doesn't reside in your mind or in the external world, but rather it lives deep within your soul. This is not something you need to earn, search for in temples, or prove yourself worthy of. It is always there, always available. It is your inner guidance, your internal compass, and it is forever connected to the divine source of all creation. We often forget this in the noise of our daily lives. The world around us shouts with opinions, headlines, expectations, and demands. We're conditioned to look outward for answers, turning to experts, trends, social media, and external validation for direction. But in doing so, we overlook the most reliable, honest, and powerful guide we have, the still quiet voice within. This voice doesn't beg for attention. It whispers, it speaks in intuition and gut feelings, in quiet urges and subtle nudges. And while it never forces itself upon us, it is always ready. It waits patiently for us to remember that we are not separate from wisdom. We are wisdom in motion. Inner guidance doesn't scream to be heard because it trusts itself. It knows that when you're ready, when the chaos settles or when the silence becomes more inviting than the noise, you will hear it clearly. It has no ego. It doesn't compete. It gently points you back toward your trust self. One of the greatest misconceptions in life is that we are somehow incomplete until we acquire knowledge from somewhere else. We are taught to seek truth from books, approval from others, and answers from outside sources. And while learning from others has its value, It is only when we combine it with inward reflection that true wisdom begins to emerge, because the deepest truths are not taught, they are remembered. And your inner guidance is the memory of who you really are. Think of a time when you were facing a difficult decision, and despite all the opinions and advice around you, something inside knew the right thing to do. Maybe you couldn't explain it logically, but it felt clear. Maybe it was a moment of peace in the midst of confusion, a calm certainty when everything else seemed noisy. That was your inner guidance. It wasn't concerned with pleasing others or doing what was expected. It was concerned only with what was true for you. This guidance doesn't guarantee comfort. In fact, sometimes it leads us into discomfort, into the unknown, into choices that don't make sense to others. But it always leads us home, home to integrity, home to purpose, home to peace. And even when we resist it, when we ignore it, when we make choices out of fear instead of alignment, it does not leave us. It doesn't punish us or turn away. It simply waits. It offers another way the next day, another sign, another nudge. Like a lighthouse in a storm, it continues to shine. To connect with this guidance more deeply, we must begin by creating space. Not physical space, but inner space. A moment of silence in the morning, a conscious breath before reacting, a pause to feel instead of analyze. These small openings allow the inner voice to rise above the mental clutter. You don't need a ritual or a guru to hear your own soul. You need only to become quiet and curious. Ask yourself gentle questions like, do I truly feel in this moment? Or, what would bring me peace right now? These questions, when asked with honesty, open a doorway. They are invitations for your inner guidance to step forward. And here's the beauty: your guidance is unique to you. It speaks your language. It knows your journey. It knows what excites you, what scares you, what your gifts are, and what your path is meant to be. It will never ask you to be someone else. It will never shame you or belittle you. It will only guide you to become more of who you truly are. You might be wondering, what if I can't hear it? What if I'm not sure what it's saying? That's okay. That is human. We've all been there. Sometimes the connection feels faint. Sometimes doubt clouds the signal. But don't mistake silence for abs. Guidance is always present, even if it speaks through stillness. Even when you can't sense it clearly, trust that it is still operating in the background, steering your life with invisible grace. And when in doubt, look at how you feel. Your emotions are messengers. Peace, joy, and expansion usually accompany alignment with your inner guidance. Tension, resentment, or constriction often indicate a departure from it. Your emotional guidance system is one of the greatest tools you've been given. It reveals truth not through logic, but through energy. Sometimes your guidance might tell you to rest when the world says hustle. Sometimes it urges you to speak up when your mind says stay quiet. Sometimes it tells you to walk away when everyone else tells you to hold on. That's because your soul sees a bigger picture than your mind. It knows the full story. Trust that. There is no limit to how often you can consult your inner guidance. You don't need to save it for big life decisions. Use it to choose your next words. Use it to navigate relationships. Use it to decide how to spend your day. Let it infuse your actions with purpose. Let it shape your habits with love. And finally, remember this: you don't have to get it right every time. Inner guidance is not about perfection. It's about presence. If you drift off course, it will lovingly bring you back again and again. Every morning is a fresh opportunity to listen anew. You don't need to be enlightened. You don't need to have it all figured out. You need only to trust that you are never without direction. So take a breath. Let go of the idea that you're lost. You are guided, you are supported, you are wise beyond measure, and the compass you've been searching for has been inside you all along. There is a space within you where the world grows quiet and the noise of life begins to dissolve. In that sacred space, something incredible begins to happen. It isn't loud or dramatic. It doesn't need applause or explanation. It is soft, subtle, and deeply powerful. That something is magic. The kind of magic I speak of isn't about illusions or spectacle. It's not about performing tricks or bending the laws of nature. No, this magic is far more profound. It is the kind of magic that happens when we pause, when we breathe, and when we become fully present to what already is. This magic lives in stillness. Most of us have been taught to chase life. We run from one task to the next, from one goal to another. We wake up to-do lists. We measure ourselves by accomplishments, and we keep pushing forward as if the meaning of life can only be found at the finish line. But in our relentless motion, we often miss the profound wisdom that waits for us, not in the chase, but in the pause. Stillness is not an activity. It is not doing nothing. Stillness is a sacred awareness. It's the moment you choose to step out of time and re-enter the now. It's the breath between thoughts, the calm beneath the surface, the gentle reminder that you are more than your business, more than your worries, and certainly more than the noise around you. When you allow yourself to sit in stillness, you begin to experience life as it truly is. You begin to hear the quiet messages that your soul has been trying to share with you all along. In stillness, clarity rises like mist lifting off a lake in the morning sun. Ideas appear without effort. Answers come without anxiety. Your heartbeat slows, your breath deepens, and your spirit relaxes into its natural rhythm. Have you ever watched nature? A tree doesn't hurry to grow. A river doesn't force itself to flow faster. A flower doesn't bloom in a panic. Everything in nature lives by the rhythm of stillness and movement. A bird pauses before it flies. The ocean comes calm after a storm. Even the sun sets in silence. And yet everything gets done. There is no rush, only flow. This is the quiet wisdom of the universe, and it is available to us when we stop resisting and start listening. Stillness is the doorway to the divine. It is where you meet yourself without all the distractions. It's where you remember that you are not your past, not your future, not your fears or roles or obligations. You are something eternal. You are spirit wrapped in skin. And the more time you spend in stillness, the more deeply you connect with that truth. You don't have to climb a mountain to find stillness. You don't need to lock yourself away in a retreat. Stillness can be found in the simplest of moments, watching the sunrise, listening to the sound of your breath, pausing before you speak, closing your eyes in the middle of a busy day. It's available to you right now, wherever you are. You might say, I don't have time to be still. But the truth is, you don't have time not to be, because without stillness, you're not living, you're reacting. Without stillness, you're constantly chasing peace that already lives inside you. Even just a few minutes of silence each day can shift your entire experience of life. Like rebooting a computer, stillness resets your nervous system, cleans your mental slate, and allows your true self to step forward. Some of the most powerful revelations in life are not shouted, they are whispered. They come in the quiet. In stillness, your intuition strengthens, your creativity awakens, your compassion grows. You start to see the world not as something you must conquer, but as something you are already connected to. You stop pushing against life and begin flowing with it. And here's something beautiful. The more you practice stillness, the more you carry it with you. You begin to speak from stillness, walk from stillness, decide from stillness. You learn to pause before reacting, to breathe before responding, to feel before judging. Life becomes less about control and more about alignment. In stillness, you discover that you don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to fix everything. You don't need to prove your worth, because you already are enough. Stillness reveals that your value isn't in your doing, it's in your doing. And from that being, the right actions naturally arise. Stillness also teaches you patience. It reminds you that just because something hasn't yet doesn't mean it won't. Stillness invites you to trust the process, to know that life unfolds exactly as it should. When you stop trying to force it, like a seed planted in rich soil, your desires take root in stillness, not stress. Some fear stillness because it brings up things they'd rather not face. In silence, the inner chatter becomes louder. But here's the truth, those thoughts were always there. Stillness doesn't create them, it reveals them. And in revealing, it offers healing. When you sit with your discomfort rather than run from it, you begin to transform it. You see it for what it is, you, just a passing storm, not your identity. In that transformation, you find your power, not the loud kind that demands attention, but the quiet strength that doesn't need to. The strength that comes from knowing who you are and trusting in the divine intelligence that lives within you. Stillness isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. It's the soil in which joy, peace, and wisdom grow. The world may tell you to move faster, work harder, chase more, but your soul invites you to slow down, breathe deeply, and remember the magic you seek isn't somewhere far away. It isn't in the next achievement, the next relationship, or the next phase of life. The magic is already here, in this moment, in your breath, in the gentle awareness that rises when you simply stop. So make space for stillness. Let it be part of your mornings, your evening, your choices, your conversations. Let it be the quiet sanctuary you return to again and again. In doing so, you will not only find the answers you've been searching for, you'll realize they were within you all along. And in that realization, something extraordinary happens. You discover the truth. The real magic has never been outside of you. It has always lived in the stillness within. There is a rhythm to life, a quiet current that flows beneath the surface of all things. It doesn't rush, doesn't struggle. It simply moves effortlessly, gracefully, with purpose and peace. This current isn't something you control, it's something you connect with. And when you do, you begin to experience something beautiful. Life begins to flow. Flow is not about being busy. It's not about achieving more, doing things faster. It's about being in harmony with yourself, with your choices, and with the greater intelligence that governs the universe. Life flows when you are aligned, when your thoughts, feelings, actions, and spirit are moving in the same direction. Alignment is not a destination you reach. It's a state of being you return to again and again. It's that inner feeling when something just feels right, when you're not forcing or pretending, when you're not chasing what isn't meant for you, when your heart and mind agree. And your soul whispers, yes, this is the way. You've probably felt it before, even if only briefly. Maybe it was in a moment of deep clarity, Maybe it was when you made a choice that felt terrifying but true. Maybe it was when you followed your intuition instead of logic, and everything seemed to unfold with ease. That's the power of alignment. It's when you stop swimming upstream and start flowing with the current of your soul. When you're aligned, you don't have to push so hard. You don't need to prove yourself. You're not operating from fear or comparison. You begin to a place of authenticity, and the energy around you responds. Opportunities arise without force. People enter your life at the right time. Creative ideas appear. Your body feels lighter. Your decisions feel clearer. You stop trying to control the world, and you begin to trust it. That's because alignment is your natural state. You were born aligned. Children are deeply in tune themselves. They don't doubt their joy. They don't question their curiosity. They live from the heart. But as we grow, we're taught to suppress that inner knowing. We're taught to fit in, to follow rules, to meet expectations, and slowly we drift away from ourselves. But here's the miracle: you can always return, no matter how far you've wandered, no matter how long you've ignored your intuition. Alignment is always available. It's not something you need to earn. It's your birthright. It begins with a single choice, the choice to stop, turn inward, and ask yourself honestly, is this true for me? The moment you choose to honor that truth, whether it's leaving a job that drains you, speaking your mind with love, pursuing a dream, or simply choosing rest over hustle, you begin to realign. And with that alignment comes a wave of grace. Life is not meant to be lived in constant resistance. Resistance creates struggle. It creates tension. It creates fatigue. But alignment creates ease. Doesn't mean there won't be challenges. It means that even the challenges will feel purposeful. You'll meet them with strength because you'll be connected to something deeper than willpower. You'll be connected to your inner truth. Think of a river. When it flows freely, it nourishes everything in its path. But when it's blocked, pressure builds. The same is true for you. When you resist your truth, when you ignore your values, when you say yes to things that feel like a no, you block the flow of life. You may still function, but you won't feel fulfilled. Something will always feel off. Your energy will be scattered. Your spirit will feel drained. But when you begin to live in alignment, when your outer life reflects your inner truth, you become like that river. You nourish yourself. You nourish others. You move through life with energy and clarity. You're not chasing purpose, you're living it. So how do you return to it? You begin by listening. Slow down enough to hear what your inner voice is saying. Get honest about what you want, what you need, what you believe. Let go of who you think you should be and embrace who you truly are. You let your values lead your choices. If peace is important to you, make decisions that honor peace. If growth matters, walk paths that stretch and challenge you. If love is your anchor, let it guide your words, your work, your presence. You recognize that alignment doesn't always look glamorous. Sometimes it means taking a step back. Sometimes it means disappointing others. Sometimes it's walking away from what once felt safe. But always, it means choosing you. And as you live in alignment, something extraordinary happens. Life begins to support you. Not because you're lucky, but because you've stopped resisting. You've entered the flow. You're not fighting the current anymore. You're moving with it. And in that flow, doors open. Peace returns. Joy becomes more than a fleeting feeling. It becomes your foundation. People may ask, why are you so calm? Or how are things working out for you so easily? You may not even have a logical answer. You'll just know I'm aligned. I'm living from truth. I'm allowing life to guide me instead of trying to control everything. That's the true power of alignment. It simplifies life. It clears confusion. It brings you back to center. It's the secret to flow, not just in your career or relationships or creativity, but in your being. You are not here to fight through every day. You are not here to prove your worth through exhaustion. You are not here to conform, shrink, or sacrifice your soul for approval. You are here to flow, to move with life, not against it. You are here to feel aligned, to live with purpose, and to trust that the more you listen to your inner truth, the more your outer world will reflect that harmony back to you. So today, take a moment to check in. Are you aligned? Do your actions reflect your values? Are your choices honoring your spirit? If not, that's okay. This moment, right now, is your invitation to realign, to return to flow, to come back to yourself. Because when you are aligned with who you are, when your soul leads your steps, when you trust your truth more than your fear, that's when life becomes magic. That's when everything flows. There's a quiet truth that, once realized, can transform the way you walk through the world. It's a truth that doesn't need to be shouted or proven, just remembered. That truth is this: you are never alone. You are never without direction, never truly lost, and never disconnected from the wisdom that created you. There is a sacred intelligence available to every single one of us, a guiding presence that knows the way even when we don't. It's not reserved for the enlightened, the educated, or the spiritual elite. You don't have to wear robes, chant mantras, or spend years in silence to access it, because guidance, the kind that springs from your soul, the kind that aligns you with peace, joy, and purpose, isn't exclusive. It is for everyone. Regardless of where you were born, how much you've struggled, what your past looks like, or how often you've ignored it, the inner guidance that flows from divine intelligence is within you. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't measure worthiness. It doesn't look at your status, your mistakes, your titles, or your beliefs. It simply is, always present, always loving, always ready to assist the moment you're willing to receive. Think of it like the sun. It shines for all. The trees don't have to earn sunlight, and the rivers don't have to beg for it to sparkle. The sun doesn't judge whether one flower deserves more light than another. It shines because that's what it does. Your inner guidance is the same. It's built into your very existence. It's not something outside of you. It's not something you have to go find. It is already here within you, waiting to be noticed, welcomed, and trusted. The challenge isn't whether guidance exists. The challenge is whether we believe it's available to us. Many people live with the belief that they're not intuitive enough, not spiritual enough, not experienced enough to hear it. They look at others, those who seem confident, calm, directed. They must have something I don't. But the truth is, you already have it. You just may not have learned how to listen yet. Or perhaps you've forgotten what it sounds like. Or maybe, like many, you were taught to ignore it altogether. From a young age, we're often conditioned to value logic over instinct, intellect over feeling, obedience over curiosity. We're told to follow rules, not our hearts. To ask others for permission instead of trusting ourselves. And over time, that inner voice, the one that once spoke clearly when we were children, begins to fade into the background. But it never disappears. Even in your darkest moments, even when you've strayed far from your truth, your inner guidance is still there. It may be quiet, but it's never absent. It may be subtle, but it never stops offering you the next right step. The voice of guidance doesn't judge you for your missteps, doesn't scold or shit. It simply offers again a whisper, a feeling, a sign, a knowing. Again and again, it tries to lead you home. And the moment you begin to believe that this guidance is meant for you, that you are worthy of it, you open the door to transformation. You begin to walk differently through life. You start to make decisions, not fear, but from alignment. You stop looking outward for all the answers and begin to tune inward, where the most honest answers lie. This guidance can come in many forms. It might show up as a gut feeling that won't go away, a gentle nudge to take a different path, a deep sense of peace when you consider a certain choice. It might come through synchronicities, those magical coincidences that seem too perfect to be random, or through dreams, unexpected conversations, or sudden moments of clarity. The form doesn't matter. What matters is that you start listening. And here's the miracling: the more you listen, the clearer it becomes. Like tuning a radio, you begin to recognize the frequency. You start to trust it. You make choices that feel good, not just temporarily, but deeply spiritually good. Your life begins to reflect your inner truth, not because you've become someone new, but because you've remembered who you are. If you've ever doubted your ability to receive guidance, know this: you don't need to be fixed. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to reach some imaginary state of worthings before guidance will already speaking. You just need to slow down enough to hear it. Get quiet enough to feel it. Be brave enough to trust it. Start by asking small questions. What do I need right now? What feels most true to me in this moment? What would bring me peace today? Then listen, not with your ears, but with your heart. Don't force an answer. Don't rush it. Guidance is gentle. It doesn't yell. It doesn't pressure. It reveals itself in stillness and open presence. And when it does, it always brings you closer to love. Love for yourself, for others, for the journey you're on. You don't need a special qualification to be guided. Your soul is already qualified. Your life, everything you've been through, everything you've felt is part of your guidance system. Every experience, even the painful ones, adds to your inner wisdom. They shape your compass. They make the messages clearer. So trust that. Trust that you're not the exception. You're not the one who got skipped. You're not too late or too broken. You are right now, guided by something greater than your fears, greater than your doubts, greater than your limitations. And the more you acknowledge this truth, the more powerfully it works in your life. Every person, regardless of background, circumstance, or belief, has access to this inner source. It doesn't matter where you are on your path. You could be just beginning to wake up to your truth, or you could be years into a journey of healing and growth. Guidance meets you exactly where you are, and it walks with you every step of the way. This isn't a luxury. It's not reserved for the lucky few. It's a divine inheritance. It's what you came here with. It's yours. You are never without help. You are never without direction. You are never truly alone, because the guidance that created you, the infinite wisdom that formed the stars and planted the seed of your soul, is with you always. And it is for you. All of it. There is a light within you, a sacred presence, a quiet force that has always been there since the moment your soul arrived in this world. This light, this divine spark, is the magic within you. It's not something you need to create. It's not something you need to earn. It is your essence. It's who you are underneath all the layers of worry, expectation, and noise. This magic doesn't shout. It doesn't compete. It doesn't try to convince you its worth. It simply is. Pure, gentle, powerful beyond measure, and it has only one true purpose: to lead you toward love. Always love, not fear. Never fear. We live in a world that often tries to pull us in the opposite direction. Fear is everywhere. Fear of not being enough, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of loss. We are bombarded with messages that tell us to doubt ourselves, to protect ourselves, to hide, to play small. Fear teaches us to close off, to resist, to control. And when we forget who we are, when we forget the magic that lives within us, we start to believe that fear is necessary, even natural. But fear is not your natural state. Love is. You were created from love. You came into this world as an embodiment of love, wide open, full of wonder, curious, joyful, trusting. That was not a mistake. That was your truth. And the magic within you has always been there, gently guiding you back to that original state, to that pure connection with life, with yourself, and with others. This magic doesn't speak in fear-based language. It does not say, protect yourself. It says, open your heart. It does not say, prove your worth. It says, you are already worthy. It does not say, control everything. It whispers, trust in the unfolding. That is the language of love. That is the voice of your inner magic. When you choose to listen to it, everything begins to shift. You begin to see life differently. You start responding rather than reacting. You soften instead of harden. You feel more at peace in your skin. Your relationships deepen, not because others have changed, but because you are now showing up as your true self, unafraid to be seen, unafraid to love. Living from love doesn't mean life becomes perfect. It doesn't mean you'll never face challenges or make mistakes. What it means is that your perspective changes. You stop viewing life as something to survive and start experiencing it as something to embrace. You stop seeing people as threats or competitors and begin seeing them as mirrors, teachers, and fellow travelers. You stop needing to win or dominate and start finding joy and connection in present truth. That is the gift of the magic within you, again, but powerfully returns you to oneness. You may wonder, if this magic is real, why do I still feel fear? The answer is simply, fear is learned. It is reinforced by a world that's forgotten its spiritual nature. Fear is a habit, a reflex. It's part of the mind's defense system, trying to keep you safe. But what you must understand is this: what keeps you safe often keeps you small. What keeps you safe often keeps you distant from your own soul. The voice of your magic, your divine self, doesn't fight fear with more fear. It simply offers another way, a better way, a softer way. And the invitation is always the same: choose love. In every situation, you are presented with that choice. Every time you feel tension, anxiety, anger, or doubt, you can pause, breathe, and ask, am I acting from fear? Or am I being guided by love? When you act from fear, you resist. You try to control people and outcomes. You withhold, you defend, you shrink. When you act from love, you allow, you trust, you expand, you give, you express, you flow. This is not just an emotional difference, it's a spiritual alignment. Fear fragments your energy. Love unifies it. Fear pulls you away from your power. Love reconnects you to it. The magic within you is love-based. That's why when you're aligned with it, you feel alive. It's energized, clear. It's why you feel right inside, even when your mind can't fully explain it. That's the feeling of alignment with your truth. And when you live from that truth, you don't just change your inner world, you transform your outer world as well. People are drawn to those who live from love. Why? Because it feels safe, it feels healing, it feels like home. You begin to inspire without trying. You begin to create from the heart instead of fear of lack. Your energy becomes magnetic, not because you're seeking attention, but because you're living in truth. The most beautiful part, this love-based guidance is always available. It doesn't run out. It doesn't abandon you when you've made mistakes. Even in your lowest moments, it's still there, whispering, there is another way. You can return to love. You can begin again. You don't need to change the world, honor the magic within you. You just need to shift the way you see, to pause when fear rises and say, I choose love, to forgive, even when it's hard, to speak truth, even when it shakes, to trust life, even when it's uncertain. When you do that, even once, you strengthen the love-based guidance inside you. You light up a part of your soul that's been waiting to shine, and the more you practice, the easier it becomes. You create a new pattern, a new habit, a new way of being. The world needs your magic now more than ever. Not a magic of ego or illusion, but the real magic, the one that flows from love, the one that unites, heals, uplifts, and awakens, the one that lives in you, just waiting to be remembered. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't wait to feel ready. The magic within you is not on hold. It's not sleeping. It's awake, alive, present. Now, so trust it. Let it lead. Let it soften your thoughts, open your heart, and guide your steps. Because when you live from that place of love, when you allow that sacred magic to shape your life, when you trust that you are always being led toward peace, not fear, that's when miracles happen. As we reach the end of this journey together, let me remind you of something simple, but deeply transformative. You don't need to travel across the world, wait for the perfect moment, or become someone entirely new to experience magic in your life. The magic you seek is not outside of you. It lives within you. It has always been there. It lives in your stillness. It speaks in your intuition. It guides you through peace, not panic. It nudges you through love, not fear. It flows through you when your heart and actions are in alignment. This magic doesn't shoot, it doesn't demand. Patient waits for you to slow down, to breathe, and to remember. Remember that you are connected to something greater. Remember that the divine speaks through you. Remember that your life becomes a masterpiece the moment you choose to follow that quiet inner voice that says, this is your way. Let go of the need to control every outcome. Trust that the next step will appear when you're ready, not when you have it all figured out, but when you're willing to listen. Be brave enough to trust the guidance you feel, even when it doesn't make sense to the world. Know that the same wisdom that created the stars, the oceans, and the rhythm of life, it lives inside you. So walk your path with presence, with faith, with deep trust. Keep choosing love over fear, stillness over chaos, alignment over approval. You are already enough. You are already guided. You are already whole. The Catholics. And every time you tune into that truth, even for a moment, you invite the magic to rise again, because the real magic, it's you. Thank you.